It's the Joel Shit Show, featuring Joel Shit. Hi, welcome to the Joel Shit Show. I'm your host, Joel Shit. So today we're going to do the fourth question from Chuck Bronson, and that's all I have. If you want to send me more, you can send me more. That's fine. You can see by now about how often I get to them. It's not an exact process, the Joel Shit Show featuring Joel Shit. It used to be, but there's just too many factors these days, so things happen in clump style. So the question says, should Social Security be restored as a voluntary system, where if a tax-paying adult wishes to opt out of Social Security and cash out all their contributions and possibly roll it over into an IRA? Do you believe that some, if not most, Americans would make the right decision? Kind of a loaded question. It implies that Social Security originally was a voluntary system. Maybe it was. I'm not going to get into that debate because it either was or it wasn't. And if it was, I just didn't know. That it was a voluntary system, if that's the case, I don't think has any bearing. But then that's not his question, so that's okay. You gotta remember, I am a fascist. If I think something is for the good of the people, seatbelts, helmets on motorcycles, nutrition information on boxes of food, I think it should be done. Because if you don't look at where it's coming from, but you look at what it's doing, and you say, are we better off with or without it, and you think that you're better off with it, then it's something that you should be for. Maybe we don't always put the right information on boxes of food. Maybe people don't want to know. Maybe we should let people raise my health care costs by getting in car accidents and dying because they didn't wear their seatbelts. Maybe that's their right. I look at it and I say, society benefits when the law says you must wear a seatbelt because it saves us money. I don't care so much about the saving of lives as much as I do about the saving of money, because we can create more lives. A lot of usually we can create more money. Yes, we can print more money, but then we have inflation, and then that's that whole thing. So to answer the question, if you want to cash out your equity in Social Security, that doesn't bother me too much, even though it's almost always going to be a bad idea. Like, let's think about this. J.G. Wentworth, 888 Cash Now. Lots of commercials on television. The shows that I watch says a lot about the trash that I watch on TV. I'm sure if you search YouTube for J.G. Wentworth, 877 Cash Now, there's like a song and they're on a bus, and then all the different people on the bus are singing this opera. Maybe it's an aria, I don't know. An aria about, basically, you have a structured settlement, but you need cash now. So call J.G. Wentworth, 877 Cash Now. I mean, that's the commercial. I mean, this could be a commercial for J.G. Wentworth. There are different reasons. Sometimes it's legitimate. You need money right now. Your tax bill's too high, or you don't have health insurance, and you need to pay a hospital bill, because you don't want to be like the 1 million Americans that file for bankruptcy every year because they can't pay their health care bills because they were uninsured and had to go to the hospital. Maybe it's not 1 million, but it is a lot. Maybe you know you're going to get money when you turn 25 because there's a trust fund set up for you, and you're 23 and you've got a structured annuity for some reason, and you don't want the money in little bits because you'll have money later and you know you will. So basically these are all edge cases. These are all outliers. But when you bring Social Security cash out into the mainstream, then you also get people that just aren't good with money, and then they cash it out, and now they have no safety net. And what's going to happen is when they get older and they can't work, they're just going to go on welfare anyway, because old people are the only people that vote. Something will be put into place that will cause them to have money, because that's the way the system works. So it kind of says, well, that's why we have Social Security in the first place. So maybe you set something else up where they have an option to cash out. There's a lot of private sector stuff that does that. Like there's life insurance plans that you can borrow against the equity. People would borrow against the equity of their houses, and we saw how that all turned out. Maybe that's a good precedent to look at to say why we shouldn't let people pull cash out of their Social Security. I just got something in the mail, my annual Social Security update. It says how much money I made last year. It says if I retire at this age, I'm going to get this much a month. If I retire at that age, I get that much a month. If I become disabled, I'll get this amount of money. And so I look at it and I go, that's nice, but it doesn't tell me anything because I'm not actually doing any of those things. Is it comforting to me to know that I'll have $2,194 waiting for me every month when I retire, if whatever the amount was? Well, I'd rather have that than a kick in the teeth, sure. What I don't like is that it implies that that's going to be enough money to live on. Yes, if I had $2,194 a month today, I would be fine. I would have plenty of money. I could live on half of that. I could live on a third of that. But your health care is going to cost more, even with Medicare. Medicare doesn't make your health care free. It makes it cheaper, just like health insurance does for those of you who aren't old enough for Medicare. So more of your money is going to cover health care because you're older, you're more likely to die, and the shit that you need costs more. In addition, everything will cost more because of inflation. And I'm not talking about this, oh my God, big inflation is coming, big inflation is coming. They've been saying for 5 years that big inflation is coming. And if it does, it does. I don't care. Last time we had big inflation, wages went up to match it. Does that mean it's going to happen next time? Well, maybe not. But if we have inflation, it does make our debt worth less, which makes it easier to get out of, provided, of course, that our earning power increases, commensurately with inflation, which, like I said, we don't know. But I think it's a safer assumption to make. So, no, I don't think that we should let people cash out their Social Security. I don't think we should privatize it. Not that that's what was asked here, but that's something that comes up a lot. The reason why some people want to privatize Social Security is because it creates a business opportunity. That business opportunity basically is fleecing people for your personal gain. That kind of business, although legal and perfectly fine in a capitalist society, is not something that I think needs to be encouraged. Think about all those cash for gold things. At least they are providing a service. Yes, if the person went out and tried to sell that gold themselves, they would get more money for it. Oftentimes they could go on eBay and get more money for it. But not everyone has those means. Not everyone knows how to do that. Some people, their time value of money, just give me the money. Now what are they spending it on? I don't know. Probably making up the gap that their structured settlement is not covering, which is why they want to cash out their annuity. See, it all comes down to the same thing. So yeah, I don't think Americans would make the right decision generally. I know that if I were unemployed and I could cash out my Social Security and start my own business, then I would say, oh, yeah, that's what I'll do. So perhaps your response to that is, oh, well, that would stimulate the economy. Yeah, it just depends on how you look at it. The money that is being used for that's being saved for Social Security isn't really being saved. It's not sitting in a giant vault. We've been borrowing against it to pay for other things. And you may not like it, but government spending stimulates the economy because it's taking money that maybe wasn't going to be used and now is definitely using it. And the movement of money is what stimulates the economy. It's how we get economic growth. So yes, if all the Social Security money were sitting in a giant ass vault, getting dusty, then yes, bringing that money out. So then that brings up another thing. If people were able to cash out their Social Security, where is that money going to come from? Because remember, there's no money in that vault. It's been borrowed against to pay for other things. So then you have to print more money, and then you probably would have inflation. Because you're not just increasing the money supply, you're increasing the money supply that's being used. Now, there's more money moving around, and that's how inflation works. So that's time you have to visit us on the web at joelshitshow.com. Email joel@joelshitshow.com.